Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 4 of the Hey Queen sessions. We are deep diving into the sovereign self, and this week, Claire and I will be joined by Vanessa Holliday, who is a sacred sound healer and has lived a really incredible life. She has been in Bali for a few years, leading sound journeys at the pyramids of Chi. She has many exciting stories to share, and I am really, really thrilled to be welcoming her here. And ready to join. Amazing. And I'm going to bring Claire in as well. Hi!
Hello.
I'm so glad you could hop on. It's so nice to see your face again.
So lovely to see you. Yeah, and I was like so looking forward to this interview, and then all this technical difficulties, and I'm like,
Yeah. This was where our practices really come into use. Like, okay, in these moments of chaos, we're like, right, I have tools. I have tools.
yeah, I really had to think like on the spot there. I was like, oh, okay, so I can't download the Lotus version on my Instagram app because I was actually thrown off Facebook, and my Instagram and my Facebook are linked. So if I do any upgrading of my Instagram, I'm going to just like lose and have to start from scratch, which I know is going to have to happen at one stage or the other. But now I'm just like, oh, we'll just ride it as long as I possibly can. So thank goodness for my partner's account, so we could use his account as well.
Amazing. Hey,
Yay!
babe.
Hello, beauties.
Hello, gorgeous ladies. So
I'm
I'm
so
just gonna.
excited. Claire, do you want to kick us off?
So, we have Vanessa with us today, and Vanessa is a sacred sound healer and divine feminine coach. She just does absolutely exquisite work and uses sounds to align the authentic self. She also uses isochronic and galactic frequencies in her work to heal people at a deep cellular level. And she began her journey as an international Red Bull DJ, which was purely just from mastery and being completely driven. But then she managed to burn herself out, or at least could see it coming, to the point that she just listened to her heart and her calling and went into a deeper journey of eurythmy and temple dancing. And from there on was actually able to embody sound and embody the sound frequencies at a deeper cosmic elemental level, working with the work of Rudolf Steiner, who Vanessa speaks very highly of. And then from there found herself at the pyramids of Chi in Bali, which is just really a wet dream for any sacred sound healer. Absolutely. Absolutely. And went even deeper into divine feminine work, which is how I found Vanessa through a sacred sound healing course. And in the sacred sound healing course, Vanessa really embodied what it is to empower and support women in a sisterhood, because she absolutely embraced me and befriended me and made me her sister and has been empowering me in my queendom ever since then. And it's just been an absolute delight to have that kind of support and presence in my life from such a powerful superstar, in a way that she is just a full embodiment of a crystalline galactic being. And it's been absolutely exquisite to be in resonance with her. I mean, if she was a tuning fork, it's really just one of the most stunning beauties to be around and to be embraced by. So thank you, Vanessa, for joining us today in all your goddessness. And we would love to hear from you what it means from your deepest core, what it means to be in your sovereign self and your queendom, and maybe even weave in a bit of your journey and sound with that.
Mhm. Mm. Firstly, I just want to say thank you, ladies, for inviting me to share my story and my medicine and my essence with all of you. And Claire, I think you just painted such a beautiful picture, and I just love the idea of being like a tuning fork. And so, yeah, my sovereign self, I personally feel, is when I am living and expressing my greatest joy. And that truly, truly comes in the form of having incredible women such as yourselves around me. I've just been very blessed along my path as well, just to have women who support each other, who inspire each other. And I think for me, being in community, being amongst other powerful women along my journey has helped me to get where I am today. So I really wouldn't be able to do this without other women and without the help of relationships and community. So for me, I'm in my sovereign being when I'm amongst other women in community. I'm in my sovereign being when I'm connected to my body. So when I'm really living in my body and in my essence and in my truth, doing the things that I absolutely love. And I'm blessed to have found that through sound and truly be expressing that out in the world. And yeah, the sovereign being, I just feel that's when you are truly living your purpose in terms of what brings you your greatest joy. And I really feel that I have been so dedicated along my path that along my path I've probably had to, say no to certain friendships or no to certain destinations because I've been needing to follow my truth and my path and my calling. So it hasn't always been easy, but it has been the most rewarding path by following my sovereign self. And yeah. And yeah, so Claire, I think you really painted the story really beautifully. I think the pinnacle of my career really blossomed and flourished was when I landed in Bali. Because I don't know if you ladies know, but for my entire life, I've been living on Pyramid Street. And my numerology numbers are 369, which is the pyramid. That is Nikola Tesla's 369 numbers, which is the pyramid. And then I landed up in Bali working in pyramids for 2 years. So working in threes. I mean, if it was not destiny and just such beautiful synchronicity to work in these majestic pyramids where I really got to see the power of sound in physical manifestation. And it's any sound healer's dream because the instruments are right there. You don't need to cart them in your car. And they have, literally so many beautiful instruments. And we have, I think there were about 70 odd people that we could fit in the pyramid. And we'd have 3 sessions a day. So it was so powerful to see that people were really being called for this medicine. And I truly believe that, there's this quote that's from, actually, who was it? Edgar Casey. He says that sound will be the medicine of the future. And when I contemplated on that quote, I actually realized that actually sound has actually been the medicine of the past. It has always been used in our ancient cultures through time and time and time, eons and eons and eons. And we're actually coming back to utilizing sound again. So sound is the medicine of the past that will be coming into the medicine of the future. And so I was able to just witness such powerful effects through sound on the daily with people having, cathartic experiences, experiences of deep emotional releasing, to coming into contact with their selves, with creation, with past loved ones that may have passed over. So just such beautiful, beautiful experiences of the power of sound and how it truly touched people. And so, yeah, ladies, and now I'm back currently in Cape Town, my mother homeland, and very much bringing a lot of my work online. I mean, we are living in the age of Aquarius, which is all about innovation and technology. And now it's been quite interesting, because as a sound healer who creates the sound, and you've got physical people in the room, to now creating an experience like that, but online, has been a very interesting challenge. And so I have literally finally mastered it. Claire was fortunate to partake in one of my live sound journeys. Maybe she can also share, but it took me about a year to figure out how I can bring live sound journey experiences as if you were in the room experiencing the sound and vibration. And so it can be done. And so a lot of other technology involved, and that's why I do give thanks to technology. So if technology is used in a very intentional way, we can have such great benefits. And so this journey of creating sound and bringing it online for a much larger audience has also just been really a phenomenal experience, to be able to just have such a wider audience and range with delivering the power of sound.
Vanessa, I'm wondering, for those who may not be familiar with sound healing, if you've painted a little bit of a picture, but to give those who are watching more of an idea of what it entails, what you can experience in a sound healing session.
Mm-hmm. So let me start with sharing that firstly, our bodies are made up of around 80% water. So we are literally, I like to say, walking water bottles. And and sound travels far more effectively and efficiently through the elements of water than it does through air. Therefore, making our bodies the perfect instrument for sound to travel. And sound, the element of sound, it lives in ether, which is all about space. So when sound comes in contact with our physical bodies, it is creating space. It just wants to open up everything and create more space and energy flow in the body. And so one can experience various different sensations and sound effects when going through a sound journey. I mean, some of the physical effects that people will feel is, we know immediately when you start listening to any type of music, I mean, music immediately touches you and creates an emotional release. So sound can create and open up our emotional bodies. It can also affect us physically. So I know people have had post injuries. When they have these beautiful sound journeys, they often will feel certain sensations around injuries of just old stuck energy coming up. Then sound will affect us mentally on a mental level as well. So sound has the ability to drop us into deep, deep states of relaxation, which is what we call the Theta Range. And Theta is when we drift in and out of consciousness, in and out of sleep. And the Theta Range is where we tap into more of our parasympathetic nervous system, which is that system of rest and digest. And when we are in that system, obviously you can imagine that system of rest and digest, you are more expansive, you are more open. And that's where sound can really come in and really shift through those those deeper layers. And that's the power of sound, because it can actually affect us on a deep cellular level. They actually call it vibroacoustic, meaning sound penetrates our deepest cellular levels and really brings up any stuck energies, emotions, sensations to the surface for cleansing. And often we don't need to mentally understand that. We just have to just feel it as energy moving through. And so by relaxing our minds into theta, we then open ourselves up for the sound to really do its magic. And then sound can affect us spiritually as well, where we can have those samadhi experiences. I mean, when we come into contact with sound, I really feel that we're coming in contact with the primordial sound of, in the beginning was the word, was Om. And we come from sound, from that beautiful creation. So it's like whenever I am, and most people actually experience this, whenever you are in a sound journey or experiencing something that you really, really, really love doing, what happens is you lose that concept of time and space, right? Where everything just disappears. And 1 hour can kind of feel like 10 minutes. And it's because you connect with the primordial energy of in the beginning, and therefore no time or space exists. You are just one with that beautiful cosmic energy. And that's really having a beautiful spiritual enlightened experience through sound. And I guess in my sound journeys, because I've kind of been on this journey of sound, where I started off as a DJ, really working with digital electronic sounds. So, learning different synthesizers and, back in those days, I was learning on vinyl and was more electronic music. And then slowly coming to wanting to deepen my knowledge and wisdom and curiosity, because I've always come in with this curiosity of sound, but really wanting to deepen that. And then coming into understanding, well, what is sound, and what is frequency, and what is vibration, and really understanding that, so that I could know everything kind of about sound. Not that I could know everything, because I'm always learning and evolving. But once you kind of know everything, then you know how to kind of create it and shape it in a way that with much more potency and intention. And so now what I do is I mix digital sounds with ancient sounds. So really merging these two together, which I kind of feels like I am engineering sound. So what I do is I work specifically with frequencies. So it's like I'm not just choosing any random sounds. I'm actually, what I do is I work very much closely with the planets. This is how I bring in the astrology. And there's this absolutely awesome scientist and mathematician who developed the cosmic octave. And he, through Plato's work as well, we know the music of the spheres, which was by Plato. And so he's done a lot of work based off his work, and he formulated all the frequencies of the different planets. So I will specifically kind of know what is happening astrologically in the world currently, where we are, and work with, say, it's Mars. Then I'll work with the planet Mars and then tune my monochord instrument, which is a string instrument. The monochord was created by Pythagoras, this beautiful string instrument. And I will tune that instrument to the frequency of Mars. And then once I have the frequency of Mars, then I can engineer all the other sounds. So like basically most composers, when they're composing music, they work with the standard tuning of 440 hertz, which is our standard tuning of our on the piano, on guitars, most musical instruments. But I go and I tamper with that frequency because like I said, the more you know about sound, then the more that you can bend the rules and kind of not go towards the standard tuning. And this is, you know, the way that we need to do it. And you can actually go in and you can manipulate the frequencies into various other frequencies. And there's so many frequencies out there that I've like been diving into. The planets, working with the planets is just one, but there's the beautiful solfeggio frequencies, there's the beautiful Schumann frequency that one can work with as well, which is the frequency of our planet Earth, in which it pulsates at. And all of these frequencies are so healing and so deeply nourishing for our bodies. So I love to also work with our different organs as well. So for women, I'm very much love to work with balancing the feminine hormones and our hormones. So working with like the pituitary gland and working with that frequency and adding them to the sounds, and then adding obviously I also add my channeled voice, and then the bowls and the gongs and the crystal sounds. And then what I do as well is just really rich. It's really rich in detail, but I've now started recording sounds of sacred sites or you know, different sounds in nature. So waterfalls or rivers or birds, fire crackling. So actually making my own sound bank versus going and just gathering sounds from a sound bank that you may not necessarily know where they came from. But this is more intentional sounds, or like I'm very intentional with the raw frequency that I'm capturing. And I think that the less kind of tempered a sound and frequency can be in its natural form, I think that holds a lot of potency and power. Then bringing a lot of nature sounds captured from various sacred sites in there. And then I just layer this luscious channeled voice over the sounds as well. And yeah, I would love to just take all of you on a beautiful live sound journey. I mean, I do them monthly, so if anyone is interested to experience something like that, they can definitely join, because I do them monthly. So that's pretty much how I formulate my sounds. So they're very much using ancient sound and then frequencies that are engineered with a specific frequency and intention, which that creates the healing. And then you've got the voice, and the voice is just about me completely stepping out of the way so that I can really just be this, I guess, this beautiful hollow flute where spirit can just move in, and the sounds can just move through. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. And as you were speaking, I was thinking, you know, I had an experience recently when I was out in nature, and it was so interesting because I had my sacred sound healing instruments with me, and I was with this beautiful couple, and it was so interesting because, you know, my friend Josh, he looks at me and he's like, you know, kind of looking at me like he's expecting some kind of sound journey to begin or something like that, and he kind of tries to initiate it. And then I'm like, okay, cool. Well, let's all lie down. And we lay down, and we were so still. And we were so still for about half an hour, just listening to all of the nature sounds and the birds and the wind blowing through the trees and the rain and the weather. And it was so stunning, so stunning. And then after about half an hour, I heard him shuffling a bit, and I go, "Are you enjoying your sound journey, Jared?" And He was so thrilled. And then it was so interesting because then we went up later to the farmhouse and they had a generator on. They were pumping water into the water tanks and you heard this generator and it made you want to puke. It was just so hardcore, the sound. And it made me think like, wow, like in the city life, we are surrounded by so much, essentially so much noise pollution that our nervous system is taking in the entire time that we've almost disassociated. We've created a dissonance with it and we're not paying attention to it, but it's still physically affecting us. And I think it's so interesting with the work of Dr. Emoto, how he would send love vibrations and beautiful sound frequencies to water, and they would make the most beautiful snowflake crystals, and then he would send negative frequencies and words of hate and such, and heavy metal music, sorry to the heavy metal fans, but things like that, and would make this really distorted kind of water crystal. And it makes me wonder, to that effect, I'm wondering if you have something in your own practice where you are able to create a sovereignty in yourself in that way, that you're actually able to cultivate, seeing as you said we're 80% water, in a way that you're able to cultivate your own crystalline frequency with your own being.
Beautiful question, Claire. I just want to echo what you were saying, like, we don't actually realize how adaptable we are, human beings. So there's this music terminology called entrainment. So as soon as you put somebody in a city, say New York City, okay, after a week, they're going to become entrained with the land, because we know that the land and the people around us are also emitting off a frequency. There's a specific frequency for New York, and when you're there, there's an entrainment that happens, and it's exactly the same that how it works with in sound. So immediately, what happens is we then become entrained to the hustle and the bustle of kind of New York City. Versus if you have to take people and put them into nature, where just complete nature sounds, after a while, we're going to become entrained with our land. That's entrainment. And so what's happened is humanity has disconnected, so we've removed ourselves so far from nature, when we are this beautiful extension of nature, and nature holds a like an electromagnetic field within it that is our medicine. And that's why it's so powerful for us to take off our shoes and to walk barefoot on Mother Earth, because there's this frequency that just completely enlivens us and balances us. And that's why nature is therapy. And this is why I encourage so many people to really disconnect, to reconnect, but to really spend a lot of time as you possibly can in nature, and creating periods of time where you can disconnect from technology, and creating environments where there is least distraction, where you can tap into the natural raw frequency sounds. And I think what's happened is, we've so removed ourselves that that some people come into spaces where there's just nature and silence, and it's like, oh my God, what am I going to do with myself, because this is so peaceful and this is so quiet. I've never been able to have this much awareness around me, because I've always got other distractions and things. And so for me, I guess, Now I live out in Scarborough, but I realize that my environment is so important, to be around and have natural water and to have nature just on my doorstep, so that, yeah, I can really feel that I can connect in. And that's truly my medicine is nature. Nature really helps me connect to my sovereign being. And so, yeah, does that answer your question, Clay? What else was there?
So, if I can just interrupt you, it's so interesting because also what I was relating to was my feeling of depression. Like I can take on a feeling of heaviness and contraction and depression, and then when I use the sounds, the vocal sounds, that actually helps me. That's like an embodiment practice for myself to lift me out of that depression. It almost breaks that heaviness and that energy. And it's so interesting now how I'm paralleling that with divinity and the ego, because it's almost like nature is the divinity. Nature is the tuning fork that we're tuning ourselves along with. And it's almost like the digital world or the human world or the human mind that we exist in Western society, that's very much the ego. And the ego has its purpose and it has its place and it has its function, but it's very much finding a need to find the balance between divinity and the ego to alleviate us for falling into this depression and this contraction. And I just saw Paige raise her hand to say, me too. Sound also, singing also elevates me. So I wonder, Paige, if you'd like to speak some more to that yourself.
There were two things that I thought to share that just came through. The one was just that I was driving in my car the other day, and I always listen to music in my car. It's like my sacred sound bubble, and I feel like it's always my meditation. I love driving because I'm like, it's my time to like immerse myself in sound in between like my busy days. And the other day I was like, I just turned my music off and I was like, actually, I want to hear my voice. And I just sang to myself, and it wasn't songs that I knew, it was just sounds that were emerging, and also like literally journaling while singing, like singing my day out. And I did it for like half an hour, and afterwards I felt so good. I felt so much like alignment and connection, whereas just before that I'd been feeling kind of headachy and kind of like grumpy and just not quite myself. So literally, as you were saying, singing helps me, to bring myself up. It was, I've always known singing is like something powerful for me, but it was so different in this instance in a way that I'd never quite experienced it before. So when you're sharing, Vanessa, I never, I mean, I know the thought that we are water, and that, sound is a frequency, and that sound carries through water. And I've read about the snowflakes and all those kinds of things, but I didn't connect the dots around how music affects us as beings who are made of water. So that for me was like, whoa, like no wonder the feeling of music is really, it's, sometimes when you feel it welling up inside you, that sense almost of like there's certain music where you can't help but dance. It's like it kind of emerges from you.
Yeah, and
You
if
want to
we
say
think
something?
about it, ladies, it's like, where does music come from? You know,
Mm.
because
From
it's not like on this earthly realm. It comes from, I really do feel that it really comes from, Plato and Aristotle and all of these musicians called it the music of the spheres. It comes from that big cosmic, infinite source. It's really this. There is this connection that needs to take place of you being this beautiful, clear channel. I mean, Beethoven. Would he would receive melodies like in his dreams. There definitely is this music lives in not the physical, it lives in this astral world, the infinite world. And then what we, as humans, we are the bridge between, heaven and earth. And we actually are able to bring that into physical incarnation, to be a physical manifestation. And that's why we can actually then create the music, so that we can listen to it. But where it actually comes from is these big, beautiful cosmic beings, planets, that are creating this beautiful symphony of sounds, and that's where, and then tapping into that, that's what people call, it's like, when you're in the flow state, and it's like,
Yes.
you just got this melody. It's being in that flow state, and to be in the flow state is actually, when you look at it scientifically, being in the flow state is actually when we come into alpha. So a lot of us actually throughout our day stay in the beta frequency range. And beta is often the frequency range which we're alert and we're awake. But a lot of people just operate in that frequency. And the patriarchy and the way the system has been set up has also keeps us in that state of like always kind of being in like fear or scarcity or kind of lack space. And therefore, if you really wanted to come into these deep creativity,
Technology. Something else which I was thinking about today, I was actually having a conversation with a friend. It's about this concept of how there's like man-made and then there's nature. And I was actually saying it's so interesting if we address that philosophically, in that the reason we're so drawn to nature is because we are nature as well. I see we lost Vanessa. But yeah, there was just a thought that I was, as she was sharing, about grounding, about how music comes through us, how it's really a natural part of our being in the world, and how nature can also provide us with this music. I was just thinking about how we often also we have a cognitive dissonance in terms of the fact that we ourselves are natural beings. We are meant to move with nature and in nature. Yeah, that was something that really came up for me.
Yeah, and it's so interesting how it's almost like there's a strange disparity between humans and nature now, just particularly in the Western world. It's almost like there's almost like a sense of polarity, whereas there doesn't necessarily need to be this polarity. Like Vanessa was saying, how she's using digital frequencies in her music, and she's using digital forms to almost telepathically in a way get across to a wider audience. And in a sense that is kind of another way of telepathy, because before humans became so reliant on technology and they were still using and still in tune with telepathy, just in the sense, like how a mother can sense when her child is in trouble, or when something doesn't feel quite right. I think there's a human curiosity to tap into these aspects of ourselves. We've just managed to project it so much to the external that we need technology to do so, as opposed to technology as a tool that is assisting us in our natural and intuitive capabilities. And she was so reminding me of whales when she was talking about that, how whales can literally talk to each other from across the ocean, and now she is sending these sound frequencies literally across oceans. Yeah, and it's beautiful where she was stopping off saying, I loved how she was voicing it as well. She wasn't saying man and nature, what like Krista is saying here, we are as expansive in the alpha state. It's like we are expansive beings, and It's all a matter of which frequency you're tuning into.
Yeah.
So not necessarily nature and digital. It's more like beta and theta, or whatever the case may be. Vanessa, we're so glad that you're back with us.
Oh my goodness, I don't know what lessons I've got to learn with technology today. Patience,
No.
patience, patience. Um, but yeah, I think where I just wanted to just end is that, our society, the way that it's been, if we want to say programmed in a way, is to keep us in this beta frequency range, and by giving ourselves the opportunity to come into theta and to alpha states, is the states that allow us to connect to creativity or to that inspired idea. Because if you're in beta, your body's going survival, get the job done, and it's not that it's a, not an it's a bad frequency to be in, but it's more of the day to day, and it's get things done. But if you're wanting to access that state of creativity and receptivity and deep listening and tuning in, we have to take ourselves into these states of theta, deep relaxation, or alpha, which is when you're in the flow and you're just in the zone, is what they what like to say. And so there are so many ways for us to get into these frequencies, and one is to spend more time out in nature. When we're out in nature and we're just walking along the forest and we're gazing towards the ocean, we're going into that state that is already coming into deeper state of alpha or theta. When we're reading, like if you're engaged in an activity, like a really good book that you really are really, fully concentrating on, that would be going into alpha. If you're working on a creative project, or if you're listening to music or sound journeys, we're able to access these states.
I
It's
love
amazing how you make it so present, how the power is really in our hands. And so Paige is going to share now, and then I also, after Paige has shared, I would also love for us to talk about Embrace Her, which is your Divine Feminine program of helping women to become more empowered and connected and in tune with themselves and their queens and essentially their sovereign selves. And I would love to hear more from you after Paige has spoken, how what being a queen means to you, what that, as an embodied space, as an archetypal space, what would the sovereign self, or what would being a queen mean for you, and how we can live that out in our daily lives.
That's such a magic question. I just wanted to say, Vanessa, that I love the image you painted of being a flute. And when you're explaining these states of theta and alpha frequencies, I've always said that there's these moments where I feel like I am a channel, like I'm an open window and a breeze blew through. Like when I'm writing poetry and people are like, where do the words come from? Where, like, it doesn't always feel like it's coming from me. It feels like it is channeled through something. And yeah, as you were describing that, that's just kind of what I was resonating with, that feeling of like where inspiration hits, but it's not that it's just come out of nowhere. It's that you have put yourself into this, like you're saying, Claire, it's really much in our control. We've put ourselves into this state of receptivity and openness and calm, where we are able to notice synchronicity, tune into our sovereignty, ground into the frequencies of nature, and be this flute that you so beautifully
Yes.
drew for us.
Yeah.
And now I'm handing over to you to hear about Embrace Her and the Queen archetype.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, beautiful, deep question, ladies. So I personally feel along my journey that for me truly to come into my feminine, I've needed to slow down. Wow. Um, wow. And yeah, there's just no other way, ladies. If we really truly want to be like embodied in that juicy feminine, we have to slow down. And for someone who's got a lot of, like, I have a lot of Aries in my charts, I have a lot of Yang energy, like the Lord of the Genitor in my chart, which is like the one planet which has like the most dignity in my chart, is Mars, is this Yang energy. And it's interesting because my whole soul life purpose is to come into Cancer, which is the water sign, which is the mother, is the nurturer, you know, and it's this journey that I'm coming into. And so I've really needed to really harness and really come into slowing down, because when I slow down is when I am able to really deeply, more intuitively listen, and I'm more receptive, and so for me, as slowing down, I would say the second thing that has been very powerful for me is really living in my body. So I have been, you know, through my life very disconnected from, you know, my menstrual cycle. A lot of my work and my teachings is women, the feminine. We actually, all human beings we're cyclic in nature. You know, we live according to cycles. And so our feminine menstrual cycle is a beautiful way, if we're really wanting to come into that feminine flow, is to really sync with our cycle, our menstrual cycle. And so it's beautiful. Like, I really just like to see, you know, just as nature has the 4 seasons, so we too have the 4 seasons within our beautiful temple space. And so for me, it's very much coming into rhythm, natural rhythm again, slowing down, coming into that cyclic nature of our menstrual cycle and of the different phases, living in my body. Because I think there was a period in my life where I was so interested in this ascension, you know, the gravitating to higher kind of realms, and now it's more, for me, I'm more focused on about the descension process, so the incarnation, so really living in the physical feminine body, yes, connected to the higher realms, but actually living in reality, you know, as it is, and not being so not placing so much emphasis on the ascension process, but actually the descension process of actually incarnating and actually living where you're living in your body. And I actually like to say the party is in the body. That's where the party's at. It's in our bodies. That's where it's all happening, ladies. And just to become more and more curious, and I'm learning about my body, the bodily wisdom of the feminine, in so many different ways. And a big part of my work, ladies, as well, is to is to explore our self-pleasure. So like, I feel so in my body when I'm exploring sexual orgasmic pleasure, you know.
Oh, Vanessa, can I just say something quickly? That I saw this thing which I love, which said, "We are beings of pleasure. We're made to feel and be in bliss and pleasure." And like you were saying, the body is where the party's at. And it said, if we weren't beings of pleasure, why would we have been given a clitoris? And I was like, preach!
Yes. Yes. I mean, yeah, there's and you know, the clitoris has 8,000 nerve endings. A man's ligum or penis, he has 4,000 nerve endings. So our orgasms in terms of the feminine, I mean, I just feel so blessed to be a woman, is that we have such juicy, deep orgasms just because we have so much more nerve endings. And we have various different types of orgasms that we can experience. Men have one, but we can have, there are actually 7 orgasms that a woman can experience in her lifetime, and we are multi-orgasmic. The woman, you know, the feminine can really ride that wave, and so sexual energy can also help through our healing. You know, it's also an energy that can help release and open up the body, emotions, trauma, and not only that, you know, is like you said, exploring and being in that beautiful state of pleasure and joy and bliss. Yeah. Yeah, what else can I share? So I'm very much on this quest of exploring pleasure and deepening my pleasure states, because that can be an endless journey as well. You know, there woman coming in, you know, there's this whole you know, myth against about menopause, that when women coming into menopause, that they you know, because of the decrease of their hormones, that they actually are you know, they don't feel as stimulated as us who have our menstrual cycle. And it's not true, because there's a woman who's in her 50s and is experiencing these deep, profound orgasms and G-spot orgasms and cervical orgasms and all the different types of orgasms in her 50s. So this idea of coming into menopause and it's kind of like the end of the road, it's not. It actually, that's a whole new phase in a woman's initiation and life in itself as well.
Sure. So much to dig into, and I feel like this conversation could just keep going every time, every week. I'm like, but we're just getting to the good stuff.
And I was like, no, let's talk about sex. That's a whole, I'm like, okay, next podcast is Vanessa, let's talk about sex.
Yes.
But just to bring it back, then I would say from what you have been saying is you personally coming into your queendom currently is being able to slow down and take up space by allowing yourself to experience your sensuality and your pleasure, and just basically allowing yourself to be that and to do that and to live in the juiciness of that as your right as a feminine entity.
Yes.
That's how you've been claiming your space.
Yes. Yes.
Reclaiming yourself.
Yes.
From this heavy driven patriarchal energy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Sure.
And Paige, do you have something you'd like to say?
In all.
Okay. Yes. So just we've almost reached our hour. So just to tie this up, Vanessa, I was wondering if there was an embodiment practice you'd like to share with us. Maybe something that you enjoy to do yourself in the mornings, or just to connect with yourself if there's ever a time where you feel kind of like you're not attached to yourself all of a sudden and you'd like to bring yourself back.
So pretty much what I do is I sound. You know, that's I feel that when I'm sounding, I immediately come to the body and in my body. And so, I mean, I obviously I'm very vocal, so I'm really have a extensive range of sounds that I can make. But a powerful practice, which I feel that anybody can use, even, you know, anyone can sound, is the power of humming. So the power of humming. So just know that our voice, every single person's voice has their own medicine. Has their own frequency, their own timbre, and this was designed specifically for you. It's encoded with all of your exactly what's needed for your physiology and for your body. And so by humming, for, you know, literally just five minutes a day, or if you're finding that you're a bit overwhelmed or you're feeling a bit disconnected, just come to a seated position, upright spine, and just start humming. I mean, you could even do it while you're in your car, you know, driving, humming. But if you're in the shower, but just using your voice and intentional sound and sending the sound through your body. And if there's different parts of your body that's probably needing a little bit more attention or love in those areas, you can really send the hum and the vibration to that specific part of your body. And ladies, a beautiful another embodied practice is a self-love breast massage. And I give this to myself on the daily because our breasts I read a book, I think it was the Tantric Orgasms for Women. The vagina is actually secondary. The breasts are primary. So stimulating and massaging your breasts in whatever juicy way for you. So I love having a self-love date night. Every week, I mark it off on my calendar and I let my partner know, and it's just me and getting in touch with my body and just really having a beautiful self-love practice. And that can be, you know, having a beautiful bath with essential oils, dimming the lights, candles, music. Then I love to then come through and then do a beautiful self-love massage. So you can do a beautiful full body massage and then really give your breasts, ladies, like 20 minutes of beautiful breast massage. Like just feeling and drawing all of your awareness to your breasts. So really being with your breasts. And then you can go into a beautiful embodied dance movement, and then ending with a beautiful meditation. And that is just, mwah, I love doing that.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that. I think I might go and do that now.
I love that it reminds me of once a friend gave me a playlist and I thought, oh, this is awesome. I'm going to do like an hour-long conscious dance session. And I just ended up on the floor giving myself a full body massage to this incredible playlist. And it was all the dancing my body needed, you know, and it's just such a beautiful way to explore and discover myself through the massage with the beautiful music as a form of dance. I mean, that was very good.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Vanessa, and for sharing your wisdom and your practice, all of it. We're so grateful.
Oh, absolute pleasure. And I'm inviting both of you ladies or anyone else that is listening to the next, I do a womb activation on the full moon, which will be the full moon of May. I think that's towards the end of this month. And I can send all the details. It's on YouTube Live. I know this is not currently my Instagram account, but my Instagram is @sheissound if anybody wants to follow me. I will get my email address that I can send you the link for the womb activation, which is a beautiful sound journey of just diving deep into the womb and connecting with your
Mm,
feminine sovereign being.
magical.
Vanessa, it's been so rich. So, so rich. I feel like we just skimmed the surface of so much. So it actually makes me think it'd be so good to have conversations of just like she talk, you know? And it's
Mm.
almost like those who are curious about what women talk about behind closed doors, they can have a little listen to know what's really going on there, you know? So I think this can definitely go deeper. So I look forward to more chats with you.
Oh,
Mm.
I would totally be keen. Thank you so much, lady.
Thank you both, and thank you to all those who joined
Thank
in
you.
and watched and added in their thoughts. And yeah, we are so grateful to be sharing this space with such an amazing crowd of humans as well. So thank you both. Thank you, everyone, and have a beautiful night. Yeah.
Mwah. Bye, ladies.
Mwah.